Should you do a PhD? Should you do one now or wait a few years until you have more time, more money, more support from family or friends, more of an idea about what you actually want to do it on? What factors do you need to take into consideration to ensure that that decision, either to do a PhD or not to do a PhD, is an informed one? That's what we're looking at in this video. A PhD is often seen as the pinnacle of academic achievement because once you've got it, you've completed academia. You've literally completed all the levels. But all joking aside, it's a chance to dive really deep into a topic that you're passionate about. It's a chance to contribute new knowledge to your field and, let's be honest, secure that coveted doctor title. But here's the truth. Deciding to pursue a PhD isn't a choice to be taken lightly. So it's no wonder you're asking yourself the question, should I do a PhD? It's a question that I come across a lot, and I've been supporting graduate students for the last 20 years. In that time, I've seen a lot of people start PhDs, a lot of people finish PhDs, and I've seen a lot of people quit PhDs too. Yeah. So you need to make the PhD decision with your eyes open and your heart open. You've got to be willing to have some quite difficult conversations with yourself about things like money and motivation and ego and pressure from other people. For many people, the idea of doing a PhD is linked to images of stimulating discussions and intellectual discoveries and solving complex problems. You picture yourself as an emerging expert in your field, making discoveries that are going to change the world, sipping coffee in cozy libraries and having stimulating discussions with your mentor. But here's the flip side. The reality of PhD life looks a lot different from that. There are long hours of solitary work and countless rewrites and that nagging feeling that you're never quite doing enough. Sometimes it's easy to feel like everyone else is ahead of you, that you're falling behind, that you are this tortoise in a world full of hares. And let's not forget the imposter syndrome. That persistent feeling that you don't belong in academia, that you're not smart enough, and at some point everybody's going to find out that you're a complete fraud and you don't know what you're doing. The truth is that both the dream and the reality can coexist. The highs of PhD life can be incredible. The aha moments, getting published, giving a great conference presentation. But the lows can be pretty crushing. The imposter syndrome, like I mentioned a moment ago, procrastination, perfectionism, burnout, feeling like you're never going to finish. So let's break that all down and let's look at some of the factors that you can take into consideration when you're deciding whether a PhD is for you. First up, what motivates you? Why do you want to pursue a PhD in the first place? Is it because you're genuinely passionate about research and making an original contribution to your field? Is it because you want to make a real difference to a group of people or a community or an organisation? Or is it because you feel pressured by your family, by society, by yourself to achieve the highest academic title? And it's important to remember that academic certificates, academic degrees, they're not like Pokemon, okay? You don't have to collect them all. And it's also important to get realistic about passion because often people start off on the PhD journey super passionate about things, and they often assume that that is going to be enough to carry them through to the end. And that's true in some cases, but for many, that passion alone isn't going to be enough to sustain you. There will be times when passion simply isn't enough to get you through the constant revisions and the late nights. If you're motivated by external factors, like impressing other people or the allure of a prestigious title, you might find yourself burned out when the reality of the work hits. On the other hand, if you're motivated by a deep and genuine interest in your topic and a desire to help other people, you will find that when the going gets tough, that is something that will sustain you. It will help you get through those phases. So motivation is something you need to give a lot of thought to. And motivation is quite a complex thing. But you've got to ask yourself the question, why do I want to do this? And another really powerful question that you can ask at this point is, would you still want to do this PhD if no one else knew that you were doing it? I'm just going to leave that right there. Next up, the time commitment. A PhD isn't something that you're going to be able to knock out in a year or two. It's a long-term commitment that often takes between 3 and 7 years, and in some cases it can take longer. So you need to ask yourself, am I ready to dedicate a significant proportion of my life to this thing? And during that time, life doesn't stop. You'll need to juggle other responsibilities, like working part-time or full-time, managing relationships, looking after other people, keeping your sports, hobbies, interests going, and dealing with unexpected life events. So it's important to weigh up whether you can integrate a PhD into your life, given the other things that you've got going on. When exactly are you going to have time to work on this PhD? And do you have a detailed understanding of how you're using your time at the moment? Can you figure out where there might be room to put some PhD work in? If you are on a PhD program right now, what days this week would you be working on it? Where would that be fitted in? What might you have to move around? What might you have to get rid of entirely? And it's not just about having the time to do the PhD, it's about having the energy to do it as well. Have you got the mental bandwidth for it? Because it's going to take up quite a lot of room in your head. And it's easy to underestimate just how draining it can be and how much time you need to recover from really intensive periods of work on it. And are you going to be able to do that with other things that you've got going on in your life that you need energy for? So it takes an emotional toll, it takes a physical toll, and you need to be aware of that. Before we get on to the next point, I want to hear from you in the comments. If you're thinking about doing a PhD, can you share in the comments what your biggest fears or worries about it are? And if you're doing a PhD or you've completed one, please can you offer some advice to people who are thinking about doing one? What do you wish someone would have told you about before you started your PhD? Help a fellow student out here. I'll look forward to diving into those later. I think it's really important that you all support each other here on the channel because there is a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience out there, especially when it comes to doing different kinds of PhDs and different topics at different times of life. Get in those comments, get talking to each other. Next up, the financial aspect. Finances are another really crucial factor to think about. Whilst some PhD programs offer stipends or scholarships, they very rarely compare to the amount of money that you would get from a full-time job. If you're funding your own studies, the financial burden of that can be really significant. It might involve things like taking out a really hefty loan or chipping away at your savings, and these are not things to be taken lightly. So you need to be really clear on where a PhD is going to leave you financially. You'll need to get on top of your finances if you're not already on top of them. If you have any money gremlins, believe me, you need to sort those out now. Any money leaks or money blocks or general issues with money, if you're one of those people who says, I'm terrible with money, that's a bit of a red flag, okay? If you are thinking about doing a PhD, you need to be secure within that program of study because a PhD is difficult enough without adding money worries into it. Does having a PhD significantly enhance your chances in the field that you want to go into? For some careers, like in academia or in particular industries, a PhD is pretty much an essential. In others, it might not be as valuable as professional experience or specialised training. So take the time to research the career paths of people who are working in the field that you want to go into. Are they working in roles that require a PhD? What was their trajectory? Are there alternative ways to achieve your goals that don't involve spending years doing one piece of research? The years that you spend doing a PhD are years that you could be spending climbing the career ladder or building a future for yourself in some other way, like starting your own business or doing consultancy work. So is a PhD a good use of your time? It's worth noting that the job market in academia is incredibly competitive. The amount of people with PhDs far outweighs the number of full-time academic positions available. So if that's your goal, you need to be prepared for some pretty stiff competition and possibly the need to relocate or to take short-term contracts whilst you build up your CV or your resume. Next up, your mental health and well-being. It's no secret that mental health challenges are very common during PhDs. The combination of pressure and isolation and uncertainty about the future can take a real toll on you. Do you have a strong support system? Are you able to set boundaries and practice self-care? Pursuing a PhD can be incredibly rewarding, but it can also be very, very demanding when it comes to your mental health. It is so important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself along the way. Now, this does not mean that you shouldn't do a PhD if you've got some mental health concerns, but it does mean that you should go into it with your eyes open, prepared to seek help, prepared to find out what's available to support you, and a willingness to be flexible and to adjust your plan if needs be. And a really crucial part of this is being part of a community who gets what you're doing, who understands what you're doing. Now, if you're the first person in your family, the first person in your community to go to university, you might find that the people around you don't really get what a PhD is all about. And whilst they're supportive and encouraging, and that's really great, they don't really understand what you're going through. They're not going to be able to identify you when you're staying up until the wee small hours trying to get that section of your literature review finished, or when you're really stuck on a particular section of your analysis. So finding a group of PhD buddies can be so important and so valuable. And it's worth scoping that out now. It's worth going and seeing whether there are Facebook groups you can join or subreddits. Take a look on Instagram or TikTok at the PhD student accounts, the people who are documenting their journey, because they come out with some really valuable stuff, some really valuable, helpful advice. Have a look around here on YouTube as well. Start taking a look at all of these things now. You'll feel much less alone, trust me. Popping up on your screen right now is another video I think you'll find helpful if you're considering doing a PhD. It's about striking the balance between your PhD and everything else you've got going on in your life. So if that sounds interesting to you, go and check it out. I'll see you in there.